Because it's a very common form of a first date or a second date. It's just a very common form of a date. So just you can refer to as dinner and a movie. Dinner and a movie. So we use the same expression here. How does dinner and a movie sound? How does dinner and a movie sound? Repeat after me. How does dinner and a movie sound? Great. It sounds great, actually. I would love a dinner and a movie. Now we can apply it to a different context as well. 요가 수업을 듣는 것은 어떠세요? 요가 수업을 듣는 것, taking a yoga class, not listening to a yoga class, because yoga class is something you do, you move, and there's action involved, so you say taking a yoga class. And same context, same expression applies to this context as well. How does taking a yoga class sound? How does taking a yoga class sound? How does blah, blah, blah sound is what you want to take away from today's expression. So, we went through a lot of expressions these days, but I hope these more expression corners really help you out because it's one thing to know and learn, but it's another to make it really yours and apply it to different contexts. On that note, we're ready to move on to our next segment, Twitter Writing 140. Here we go. Now, it'll be quite tasteless and dull if I were to do all the writing, right? After all, it is a program to help you get comfortable with Twitter writing. So listen carefully to the next examples and see how you would interpret them. Listen carefully.
블로거 말만 믿고 친구들을 맛집에 데리고 가면 안 된다.
외국인이 출연하는 TV 맛집 프로그램은 왜 인기가 있는 걸까?
I absolutely admire these tweets because I agree 150%, if not 200%. So let's see what you have prepared for me. Going to tasty restaurant with friends without visit myself is not okay. Now, first of all, tasty restaurants. A restaurant itself cannot taste tasty unless you're going to lick the walls of a restaurant. So how about, since you are taking your friends, I think I want to start out with that subject matter. How about taking your friends? You begin the sentence with one of the most important subject matters. Taking your friends. How about to a restaurant. To a restaurant. You could say good restaurant, but in this context, I think I'm just going to roll with a restaurant. Taking your friends to a restaurant without what? 뭔가 전에 혼자 가봐서 음식 맛을 봐야 알잖아요. So you want to visit it yourself. Without visiting myself is not okay, is not okay. How about it? Because you're specifically talking about a venue. Visiting it myself is not okay. That's okay too. I mean, is not okay is okay. But I think I want to go with likely to be disastrous. 뭔가 안 좋은 일이 있을 수도 있어요. Likely to be disastrous. 라고 하실 수도 있겠습니다. So altogether you could say, taking your friends to a restaurant without visiting it myself is likely to be disastrous. Of course, I need to be able to connect the sentences, so is quite necessary. Now, of course, I can make my recommendation as well, but I like to utilize much of the verbs and vocabularies that you've created for me. Again, the Korean sentence says, 블로거 말만 믿고 친구들을 맛집에 데리고 가면 안 된다. 안 되죠. I have my recommendation. Taking your friends, so it starts out really similarly, taking your friends to a restaurant recommended by a blogger could turn out disastrous. That's pretty straightforward, right? 블로거가 해준 말만 믿고 가면 안 돼요. Recommended by a blogger. A restaurant recommended by a blogger, you're referring to, of course, the venue that's talked about inside the blog itself. So could turn out disastrous. I kept the words from your blog as well. So altogether, taking your friends to a restaurant recommended by a blogger could turn out disastrous. Disastrous. It really could be. I have many tries, actually many attempted and failures, so I don't recommend it at all. Let's take a look at the second tweet. 외국인이 출연하는 TV 맛집 프로그램은 왜 인기가 있는 걸까? And you have TV program Foreigner going on restaurant tour is so popular? Well, I like what you have here, but I think you need to ask, 왜 그런 걸까? Why are TV program with Foreigner going on restaurant tour so popular? Well, since if I used are, if you used is, this would be perfectly fine. But since I started out with are, let's talk about many programs. So why are TV programs, can you see that? So that's a plural. Why are TV programs with foreigners? Foreigners, because there's many programs that do this. Why are TV programs with foreigners going on restaurant tours? Since we're making all of it plural, tours, everything is plural. So is so popular? You can just say so popular, because you already have the verb right here. Why are TV programs with foreigners going on restaurant tours so popular? And I have my recommendation. It's a little bit different, a little bit upgraded, you could say. But here's a look at the Korean sentence one more time. 외국인이 출연하는 TV 맛집 프로그램은 왜 인기가 있는 걸까? And here's my recommendation. What's the hype on food tasting TV programs associated with folks from abroad? Well, first of all, 아까 외국인이라는 단어, 뭐 여러 가지 단어가 있지만, friend from abroad라는 말을 썼었잖아요. 비슷하게 외국 사람,